Top five supplements excluding creatine and whey protein.
Bcaas, Eaas, Yohimbe, calcium and magnesium, L-Carnitine.
Booyah.
So those are his top five supplements, excluding creatine and whey protein, they said. All right, so calcium and magnesium he's grouping together, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And the reason he's doing that, because both of them are involved in muscle contractions and how many you can do and everything else, but they're not the limiting factor in 99% of the population. So that would be, as far as performance, that's not there. However, he's 100% right on a health standpoint.
Yeah.
70% of the population is low on calcium. There's another 66% are low on magnesium, two essential nutrients for bone building and for cognitive function, for everything. These are really important muscle contractions. So that would be an important one, but that's from my health. So we have to categorize what he's talking about here.
Yeah.
They eliminated the performance ones with creatine
and whey.
Well, whey is also that's another recovery supplement, right? That's what you're because you can't get enough protein from food alone at a gram per pound of lean body mass.
Yeah.
So whey protein happens to be the best protein, obviously. And so that would be the right protein supplement if you can use that. A lot of people can't use it because they want plants or they're vegans. But so without a doubt, calcium, magnesium is very important for health. Let's go there. It's not, and I guess if you're healthy, that might improve performance over long haul. Mm-hmm. So that's okay. I'm not going to say that would be my top five. Okay. So, okay. So second, he said carnitine.
No, that was the last one he said.
Okay.
But I mean, you can talk about it.
Right.
But the second one he said was Yohimbe, and I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, well, Yohimbe, that's an herb. Yeah, and it's promoted for sexual enhancement. It's in performance for increasing testosterone and so forth. And that may do that to a certain extent at certain dosages. It's been an herb. It's been around for thousands of years in Asian medicine and so forth. But there's some controversy around that particular one. I think that would be the last one on my list. So
that wouldn't even be in your top 5.
It wouldn't be my top 15. It would be there's a whole bunch of ways of doing baseline stuff before where that would be useless. Yeah. That would cancel out any effect of Yohimbe, and Yohimbe may have a downside as well. Yeah, we're talking about organ toxicity or stuff. If you're using it for a long period of time, but the dosages that would actually make a difference.
Yeah. And then what about L-Carnitine? Because that's a huge one.
Well, it's a big one, but it was a big one in my day. In fact, when Mike met me, Mike was 17 years old out of Washington State. He comes down. Of course, I was running the whole nutrition thing worldwide for Gold's Gym, and my offices in Venice, of course. And they sent Mike to me just to kind of help mentor him through the process of living in Venice. It's not that easy, in that world. So, again, that's not his expertise, is not nutrition. But he is, influenced by, people around him that are giving him information. He just digests it, and then he will just kind of believe that's maybe the most sense. Carnitine is it's not a rate limiting factor for fat burning, and I think when it came out in the 80s as a supplement, it's because we discovered Lonzo, this big company in Switzerland that was making carnitine at the time. We saw what it was doing for people that were diseased. They did not have the same enzyme systems that could bring, which creates the fat burning effect, where carnitine carries fatty acids into the Krebs cycle. And so they discovered that if you could add more carnitine, you could take care of these people that were clinically challenged. Now, so that everybody goes, they're burning more fat all of a sudden. They're using fat for energy. Doesn't change if you're eating too many calories. It doesn't matter what you're using for energy. But so that got into the world of bodybuilding, and I actually fell for the trap. I mean, I go, God, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, now I'd already retired from bodybuilding. I'm like, this is like, well, actually, I retired in 90. Yeah, so it was about 91. So I kind of fell for it. I go like this. So we started making it in the very beginning, not with Apex, but we did with nutrition analysis. And, but I realized after a while that this isn't making sense. It is not the rate limiting factor in normal healthy people. The more carnitine you take, nothing's going to happen unless you're doing high doses. If you're doing super high doses, I've seen it improve endurance athletes' performance. But it's not going to help you burn more fat if you're doing everything else right. I mean, if it does, it's because that, genetically you are low on the ability to create acetyl coenzyme A, inside the Krebs cycle, because you are unable to get the fatty acid into the thing for some reason. So that would be like on the very bottom of my list as well. Just for their very subpopulation might benefit from it. Okay, next.
And then did we talk about the branch chain?
No, we didn't.
And what you like about it?
Yeah,
because I know you like branch chain.
Well, I mean, that's how it all started. If it wasn't for branch chain amino acid supplementation in the bodybuilding community, back in the 80s, that's when they really discovered that there was something there. We would have never got to the essential amino acid one, which Mike properly called out as one of the top supplements. And that's a recovery supplement, though. It doesn't help you perform better. Mm-hmm. So that's where you got to separate branched chain amino acids from the total essential amino acids. By the way, tryptophan is, even though it's essential amino acid, should never be involved in that recovery form. You don't need it. You don't want that in a free form. If you have it in a free form, it'll help you fall asleep and all that. So you want to ignore that. It's what we know from science is there's the 8 of the 9 essential amino acids are the ones that are triggers to the mTOR, mammalian target rapamycin, that cause muscle protein synthesis. They actually turn the machine on. So he said he was correct about that. That helps you not break down as much tissue when you're training, which means that there's more amino acids available for synthesis. And tons of studies prove that. So it's a great recovery supplement. Help you from being sore after workouts. More than that, you recover faster. So your next bout of exercise, you are 100% ready for, and you've made all the gains you want. So over time, that becomes a product that will help your performance only because you're recovering better. Now, it all started with the branch chain. So branch chain is isoleucine, leucine, and valine. In the normal doses that we were taking as bodybuilders, and I was still a bodybuilder when branch chain came out, so I was using it regularly. But those normal doses, we were taking a couple grams of leucine, maybe 2 grams, and 300 milligrams and 300 milligrams of isoleucine and valine, and it really didn't do much. Probably, we don't know that. We would just throw a bunch of them down. So we would take triple the dose anyway, just because that's what you did back in the day. We would just take that and then
a lot of bro science.
Yeah, so I'm sure it helped recovery, and we know it did. The studies actually showed that it worked at high doses, very high doses. It worked on recovery, especially if you were dieting regularly. In fact, like in your sport, fighting and wrestling and so forth, they diet, crash diet, make weight and so forth. Branch chain was a regular supplement for those people. So we knew it would save a little muscle. Now, so what happened was, now with the branch chain, now it has evolved into more of an endurance athlete sport. Now that essential amino acids are better than the regular branch chain for recovery, essential amino acids are better because you got the 3 branch chain, isoleucine, leucine, and valine, but we move up the leucine up to like 4 grams in a serving, and then isoleucine and valine at like 2 grams a serving. So that's an effective giant dose, and that will give you the best recovery with that number. Because what happens is, if you only have the 3, you're going to be rate limiting. Whatever one you don't have of the other 5, you're screwed. It only works as well as the top ones. So we know what that number is now from all the great scientists that have done the studies. I actually wrote the book on that whole thing, just off the scientists' work. Now, so the branch chain is what it's used for now in isolation. It's used for clinical reasons in diabetics and so forth, but let's forget that. Let's talk about what we're talking about. It's used to improve endurance, delay fatigue, increase multiple reaction time. It's because what it does is this. You ready? They are what we call large neutral amino acids, isoleucine, leucine, and valine. Tryptophan is a large neutral amino acid. Tryptophan, when it goes through the blood-brain barrier, and it's in your diet, and if it's in your diet, so it's always floating around, and it goes and it decides, signals begin to send it to the brain when you're getting tired. So tryptophan goes in there and creates serotonin, and you sort of say, it's time to wind down. Now, if you take a shitload of branch chain before your endurance run, before your race and all that, what does it do? So those are also 3 large neutral amino acids, okay? Mm-hmm. So now what they do, they fill the blood-brain barrier up, they block it, tryptophan can't get in. So it delays fatigue. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what they're used for now, for endurance, to improve, delay fatigue. There's some other things too. It decreases ratings of perceived exertion in these athletes. They can go a little bit longer. That's what it comes down to. That's all branch chain's used for. So that wouldn't even fit into the category. Essential amino acids, like I said, that's the bomb. That's the recovery bomb. Okay, because they already took away all the top one, obviously. It's creatine.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to cut them some.
Beta-alanine is the other one. They didn't mention it.
Okay, yeah, I know. It's his top 5.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We don't know what else maybe they're excluding or more context to it.
Yeah.
But excluding creatine and whey, so I'm assuming that would probably knock out the 2 other whatever.
So again, just I love Mike, and he's doing the best he can with talking about those things. But yeah, it certainly wouldn't be the top 5.
Yeah.
All the way around, depending on what your goal is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it's his top 5.
Top
for
5,
what
yeah.
it might be for him.
Yeah. Maybe he's got some genetic issue where the carnitine makes a difference for him, but that's not something that you would obviously pick. It's not evidence-based. Let's put it that way for body fat reduction in healthy people.
All right.
If that's what he's saying.